Brand bidding in Google Ads is one of those things that nobody agrees on. About a year ago, I got tired of people telling me that I was religious about my brand bidding framework and why do I always have to do brand bidding? Brand bidding is a bad thing. So I went in deep and I went like, okay, what factors are there for brand bidding? When should you do brand bidding? When should you not do brand bidding? How should you do brand bidding? All these things that were up in my head, I went like, okay, now I'm just going to show you when and why and how this is actually a much more nuanced and important topic than anybody actually thinks. So let's jump into it. The whole thing is that nobody agrees on whether or not you should be bidding for your brand term. And the reason why is that there are three different types of businesses in e-commerce when it comes to your brand bid. If you're a wholesale D2C brand, which means that 90 or 80% of your revenue comes from wholesale, then your brand is a mid-funnel keyword. Like think of something like Nike. Nike shoes is not a bottom funnel keyword. It's a mid-funnel keyword at best. And that ranges depending on how big your wholesale division is. The second thing is that if you have no competition for your brand term, there's no value from bidding on your brand terms. You might want to do it just in case a competitor comes up and you can actually see it and get the data, but that's something else. If you're a well-known brand, then you will spend thousands of dollars on your brand term, and whether or not that's a good investment on your hand, that's a little 50-50. It really depends how big your budget is, how much are you spending on Google Ads today. If 80% of your spend is going to go to brand terms, then I will say spend on generic, spend on non-brand instead. And again, at the end, if you have a lot of competition on your brand terms, then finding the right bidding can decrease your cost by 50 to 80% versus just having smart bidding with target impression share or target ROAS, whatever you want to do, can actually decrease your cost by 50 to 80%. The last group of businesses that I have is how unique is your brand term? Because printondemand.com is a tough one to use from a bidding perspective. And this is why nobody agrees. Because all these 5 examples I had have different scenarios. The keyword is maybe a top funnel, mid funnel, or a bottom of funnel. Maybe you have a lot of competition on your brand term. Maybe you don't have a lot of unique selling propositions that make you stand out for your competitors. So if somebody searches for your brand term, see a competitor, maybe they're very inclined to go to your competitor and buy from them instead of buying from you. That's one of the things that makes nobody agrees on what it is in the end. And even the SERPs, the search results pages that we see, are not the same. My personal opinion is that Google shouldn't allow ads on branded terms. It's a tax on businesses. It's just like another percent that goes into Google's pockets. It should be not allowed. So the perfect SERP, in my opinion, is that there's nobody bidding for your brands. But what we get instead is we get competitors, we get affiliates, we get retailers that sell our products, and then we get our own ads. Even in this example that I have right here, where you can see that Hexclad has a ton of competition, here it's most likely very important for them to be present in the auction instead of just leaving it to competitors, affiliates, their wholesale network, and their retailers. Here's another example where we basically have no competition. This is Caraway. It's more or less the exact same business as Hexclad. They sell the exact same thing and their DTC brand, but they have more or less no competition for their brand term. This is why nobody agrees on what to do, because even 2 cases that we will say are completely similar are not similar at all. So let's jump into it. Instead of asking, should I be bidding for my brand? The better question to ask is, well, is brand bidding incremental for me? Would the conversion have happened anyway? And the only way to actually test this is to do a holdout test, meaning that you split your campaigns into geographies, and then in one group you bid for a brand term and the other one you don't bid for your brand term. Afterwards, you can look at your total conversions in your backend and see, before you got 100 conversions a month, and then the other one you also got 100 conversions per month. If you're bidding for a brand term in this group and you started saying, okay, now I actually get 120 conversions. When you don't bid for a brand term, nothing changed. So you want to look at the relative there. And again, you want to have a software that actually does this. There's things like House. There's a lot of different softwares out here that allow you to do this. The only difficult thing here is that there might not be enough volume for most of us to measure this. And this is why I'm fairly excited about the incrementality study testing that we can do in Google Ads. That should come out this year. I hope so. I'll do a video on it, on exactly how to do it, but this is the best way to do it. The second best way to do it is to simply just stop advertising for your brand term and see what happens. Stop 1 week, start another. Stop 1 week, start another. Stop 1 week, start another, and see what happens. You want to try to just get a sense of what happens when you do and when you don't. And again, remember, if you don't have any competitors, I'm telling you, it's not going to have any difference whatsoever. If you have a lot of competitors, it might have a big difference. And then there's also the aspect of, what do you think? Some people hate it and will not do it, like even if they see that there's an impact from doing it. Other clients that we have in Savvy are paying way too much, and we can't convince them not to do it. So that's one aspect to it as well. Now that we've gone through this, we have three main scenarios when it comes down to brand bidding. The number one is, again, if there's a lot of competition, you should probably be bidding. If you're selling to wholesalers, you have a lot of retailers, you should probably bid very aggressively. If there's no competition, there's no bidding necessary. The one thing I want to say about brand bidding is that we don't want to mix in brand bidding and new customers. A lot of people will look at a brand campaign, look at the numbers behind and say, hey, 80% of these or 60% of these are new customers. So they should be built into our overall funnel. The spend that we have on our brand campaigns should be regarded into a total marketing investment or marketing budget. And that's not true. We're not trying to find out whether or not spending on branded terms result in new or existing customers. That's not what we're doing. We're talking about, would this conversion have happened anyways? That's the question we try to ask and answer to find out whether or not it's a good idea to be bidding for your brand term. Whether or not that's a new customer or an existing customer does not matter. The next thing we look at is the bidding methodology. So let's say we figured out that we should be bidding for our brand term. It's beneficial for us. This is the way we're supposed to do it. Then we look at, should we use automatic bidding or manual bidding? The first thing I want to mention is, let's see when smart bidding or automatic bidding is great. It works great when there's a lot of competitors per keyword or product. If there's a lot of varying conversion rates across search terms, devices, audiences, etc. If there's thousands of keywords, thousands of products to keep track of, then smart bidding does excellent, and that's what it's really good at. However, for branded keywords, the opposite is the case. You have very few competitors on your keyword. You have very stable conversion rates. You have 5 keywords, 10, 20 keywords tops to keep track of. So this is where there is not that big of a gain by using smart bidding and where manual bidding can be preferred. The one case where I start going, okay, where smart bidding can make sense is for shopping branded campaigns. Maybe you have thousands of products. Maybe you compete with a lot of wholesalers on your product ads, but you don't really on your search ads. Smart bidding can be better there. To figure out how to do your best work when it comes to brand bidding, there's 4 tactics that we use. Number 1 is, for goodness sake, use experiments. So let me jump into an account. Way too few people use experiments to test any type of bidding, but especially when it comes to brand. When we look at this, we have a brand bid here where we went in recently and went in and said, okay, let's just try to bid 50% lower. We were already bidding very low for this particular case. And I'll be honest, this was actually an accident. I was doing another video where I showed how experiments work, and I just decreased the bids by 50%, and I actually forgot I had set it live. But it shows it really well. Again, we're spending very, very little. Like, this is 400 kroner. That is about $80 per month in an account that spends almost $1 million. This is very, very little. So 200 kroner, but no impact on traffic, no impact on revenue, no impact on impressions, and only positive, of course, on the rest of the things. And it even says there's statistical significance on it if we go in and we look at it. So overall, use experiments. It's the best way to actually run an experiment to find out whether or not you're bidding high or low. So another way to do this is to just start decreasing your bids. But the thing is that there's confusion that gets added here, because let's say we're just looking at the search impression share. And we're like, okay, we're bidding 13 kroner per bid here, or per click here. And our search impression share is 97%. Then let's say when we start decreasing the bid, okay, we go from 98% to 92, 93, 96, 96 at 5 kroner. Overall, so it seems pretty stable. We don't really lose much. Let's then say it's in the client's eyes. Let's go back to the clicks. So as we start decreasing here, we're seeing clicks actually sustain, and here it went up. The thing here is that there was a promotional element. There was a seasonality in here, so clicks went up. It's impossible to us to know would this amount of clicks have been 4,000, 5,000 if we had been bidding higher. And that's the thing that the client comes back and say, wait, well, maybe we missed out. Maybe our competitors overtook us. And that's why we're starting to see here, hey, we're starting to increase the CPCs again because they started to be nervous. And in my opinion, this was a mistake here. We're really good earlier here to do experiments. And then we started increasing the CPCs in response to the client. And as we can see, we're not getting more clicks. This is a seasonal thing. We don't have to bid this high. So again, use experiments when you're testing out your brand bidding, because most people don't test. They just see they get 8x, 10x, 20x, 30x, 40x their money and think, I can't save money. big brands can save big bucks on shaving off half their CPCs and have no impact on clicks whatsoever. The second thing is you need to absolutely abolish affiliates on brand terms. No affiliates should be allowed. You should check routinely. And you should also reach out to competitors, especially in Europe. It doesn't work as much in the States, but in Europe, we can still do gentlemen's agreements where we say, hey, I don't bid for you, you don't bid for me. Especially owner to owner, this is something that works really well if brand terms aren't a huge part of the other person's strategy. Then there's campaign structure. Always separate out campaign structure in its own campaign and make sure that you just exclude your brand term from dynamic search ads or from basically from all other campaigns that you're running. The fourth thing to keep in mind with brand bidding is always separate out your ROAS reporting. I'll die on the hill that you should never, ever combine reporting for brand and non-brand traffic. It's just like retargeting. Your brand bid cannot take 100% credit for everything that happened before. It might be a meta ad, a TV ad, a mouth to word interaction that created that branded search. So Google Ads can't take credit for it, and nobody in the Google Ads world should be taking responsibility for your brand bidding. Your branded revenue goes up, and they have no impact on it. When it starts going down, they have no impact either. So they're just going to be sitting there going, I don't know what to do. Well, we're not responsible for it, but if you've been taking credit for it when it was going well, you're also going to take credit for it or take blame for it when it starts going down. So even if you're an agency, please separate out ROAS reporting. One of the last questions I always get when it comes to brand bidding is, should I include it in PMAX? I put it up into 3 different categories. If you're a new brand, I don't really care. You don't have a lot of searches, so don't exclude, it doesn't really matter. I will always exclude it. If you're meta heavy and move into Google Ads, for goodness sake, exclude. Is the reason why 90% of DTC brands can't get Google Ads to work is because they don't exclude brand terms. So Google Ads, when they start spending $1,000, $10,000, $50,000 a month, the majority goes into brand terms in PMAX. And then they go, well, this is not incremental. We're not getting more out of our overall marketing spend when we spend on Google Ads. It's because they're overspending on branded terms. And then the final category is if you're an existing brand, for goodness sake, exclude. It's very, very likely that PMAX will overspend on brand terms. And again, like I said before, you don't want PMAX and anything Google has to take credit for branded terms. So in the end, should you do brand bidding? Probably yes. You should probably spend less than what you're spending today on brand bidding. So I'd love to hear your opinion on brand bidding. Where do you think I'm wrong? Where do you think I'm right? Comment below and stay tuned for the next video. If you're into practical PPC insights that you can actually help you, then subscribe. I share tips, breakdowns, and call out what's working and what's not. No fluff, just the stuff that you can use every single week.